Now we're going to turn to today's Tech Corner, brought to you by QMark, manufacturers of styli and accessories for the metrology and machine tool industries. QMark, whose motto is Same Day Styli. What we're going to look at today is how to select a stylus for your probe or your CMM or portable arm or whatever if you aren't quite sure what you have. What happens if you need to replace an unknown stylus because it's worn or it's broken? Well, the folks at QMark have provided us with some helpful tips for selecting a replacement stylus. And the first thing to do is to find the thread size. So look at the probe head or the sensor on your CMM, see what make or model it is, and then go to QMark's website, cmms.com. That's cmms.com. And I have a link to the page below, but we can see it here. And you can look up the type of probe that you have. We can see there's Renishaw there and Zeiss, and there's some other probes. And you can see if you can find your probe on there, your probe model on there. And if you do, well, then you have the thread size right there, and that kind of gets you through the first part of this. If you can't find it on there, and if we can go to the gauge cam here, you can use something like a thread gauge. This thread gauge comes from QMark, and I've included a link to the purchase page for this on their website as well. But you can just use a thread gauge, get it so the camera can see it, and you can find out what thread size you have that will work. And I can see here that this fits in the M5. So this is a 5mm thread, and M5 is what that would be, and I can tell using the thread gauge there. You could also take a micrometer and just measure the thread with a micrometer. So if it measures about 5 millimeters in diameter, that'd be an M5. If it was 3 millimeters in diameter, it'd be an M3. So you can get it that way. In fact, while I'm here, using the same thread card, I could also measure the ball size. So I can just keep putting this in until, okay, so that's too small, that's too big, that one's just right. So I also know, using the same gauge, I can tell that this is a 3mm ball. So in this case, I've got a 5mm, thread and a 3mm ball. If you can't do any of the above, take a picture of the head. The salespeople at QMark have sold hundreds of thousands. In fact, I believe they sold between 500,000 and 1 million styli. So they really know, they've seen pretty much every sensor, every head that's out there. So if you send them a picture of your probe head, so even if you don't even know the model, they should be able to figure out what it is, and they can figure out what thread size and other characteristics go along with that probe head that you have, or with that sensor that you have. So the other question is, how is the probe going to, how is it going to be used? You know, what ball size do you need? What shaft length do you need? What material do you need? There's a lot of different materials that styli can be made out of. So for instance, this one happens to be carbide. So you might choose carbide if you need a really rigid material. Carbide is typically used for that. If you need something lightweight, you might want to use carbon fiber or ceramic. This happens to be a ceramic one. Thermal stability, if that's important, you might use titanium or carbon fiber. And a lot of machinists, a lot of machine tool people go with ceramic stems like this one. And the reason is because it's brittle. So if you can imagine on a machine tool, if you're using this probe and you crash it into a part or a fixture, you would rather break an inexpensive stylus rather than break an expensive probe head. So you can think of this as a fuse that protects the probe head. So a lot of machine tool people will go with a ceramic stem. So think about those things for your application. You don't need just to blindly do a one-to-one replacement. So wrapping up, if you need to replace one of your stylus, the easiest thing to do before contacting QMark is to identify the probe head the stylus goes into, if you can, take a picture, the thread diameter of the stylus, ball size, and the stem length. And then give some thought about how this is being used. It may make sense to actually replace your old probe with a different type or different material probe that might be more suited to your work. Then, armed with that info, give QMark a call or visit their website. Remember, that's cmms.com, cmms.com. And by the way, If you know exactly what you want for a custom stylus, you should try out their Design Your Own Stylus app on their website. There's a link to that on the player page, as well as a link to a demo of the design tool that we did a while back. So I'd like to thank the folks at QMark for sending us these suggestions. QMark, whose motto is Same Day Styli, is an ISO 9001 registered company that manufactures styli and accessories for the metrology and machine tool industries right here in the USA. Thanks, guys.